What's going on, guys? This is Gene Jensen, and let's do another Tackle Tuesday. I'm going to show you the stuff that I have in this box right here. All right, so this little box, a lot of you guys who've been following me have seen this. This is my terminal box that I keep in my kayak. It's been a great box for about a year and a half. It's starting to come apart while I'm going down the road. Things are starting to fall out of it. It's starting to wear out because I use it so much. I'm thinking about switching to that new Plano Edge little small box that has all the little compartments and seeing how that thing works out. It looks like it's a pretty stout box. But anyway, let's jump into this. Let me show you the inside of this box. This is a large fly box. Got it off of Amazon. And you can see it keeps, I'm trying to make sure the doors don't come open. I do put a lot of weight in this thing. I keep a lot of stuff in here. We're going to go through these compartments, kind of talk about the stuff I have in here and what it's used for. Because a lot of you guys ask about terminal tackle. And what I do with this box is it's not my only terminal tackle box. I have a bigger one that I keep in my boat and also in my truck. And when the day is done or before the day, I make sure that this thing is stocked properly because it has enough stuff to last several days, but it has a few things that if the bite gets hot, it doesn't last but a day. So I just have to make sure I keep it restocked. So let's go through real quick, and I'm just going to pull some stuff out and show you some of the cool things that I have in here. Some of these things I've had in here, had in my terminal tackle for years and been using for a long, long time. First of all, let's talk about the tungsten weights, okay? So all along this top part right here, I have my tungsten weights. These right here are 1/2 ounce. It goes 1/2 ounce, 3/8, 5/16, quarter. I can't remember, 1/8, I think, or 16th. I can't remember. But anyway, it goes smaller and smaller, and I have all the way to really, really tiny. The tungsten weights I use are Strike King tungsten. Reason being is for years when I had my full-time job, back when I was an x-ray tech, every paycheck I pulled out 20 bucks and I went to the store and I bought tungsten. And whether I needed it or not. And I stocked up on tungsten and I'm still stocked up on tungsten. And it's something I don't have to worry about anymore. I do pick up some small ones every once in a while. There's a different company that's local to me. Hold on. Let me get my little autofocus thing set right. And I pick up little bitty 16th or 8th ounce weights. These are ones I use down in Florida, or I use when I'm fishing in some thick grass. I just need a little bit of weight to them. I also use what's called a Florida rig or a Florida weight, a tiny one. These go on the front of my swim baits. When I'm down in Florida, they just kind of screw in. The line goes through the little hole in the middle. Okay, and we're going to go down the next line. You guys know I love the Mojo rig, and I pour my own weights, and I always have some in here. These are little cylindrical weights that go ahead of your worm, and I'll leave some links to some videos to some of this stuff on how to fish the rigs that these weights and these hooks were meant for. But anyway, so this is my Mojo weight. I only fish it in the eighth ounce size, so I only have this size in here. It helped me finish third in a tournament last year. Just a really good weight. I pour them, what they're poured with is the Do It lure body mold. And if I can find a link to that, I'll put it down in the description. I'll put a link to all of this stuff down in the description to the Tackle Warehouse affiliate link that I have. So you guys can go find it and look at it. Okay, the next little compartment, it's gonna amaze you how much stuff I can fit in this box. Next little compartment, I have two things. I have beads for Carolina rig weights. Okay, little plastic orange beads. I don't care what the color is. And then Carolina keepers. Okay, and what Carolina keepers are, I talk about this on all of my Carolina rig videos. But a Carolina keeper it's a cylinder of plastic, flexible plastic that has, I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's got a little slit in it, and you pinch it side to side with a pair of pliers, and it opens up that slit, and you slide your line through, and it becomes, it takes the place of a swivel, and it makes your leader on your Carolina rig adjustable, okay? Now, the next compartment is some more beads for a Carolina rig. These are called force beads. They're magnetic, but they're good for you when I'm using my tungsten weights. They're good for keeping the tungsten from beating stuff up, because the tungsten will break a regular glass bead. That's why I don't have any glass beads. Tungsten will absolutely destroy glass beads. And so I use this to give me a little bit different noise than the plastic, and it's also one that won't beat up the hook or the knot. So, all right. Next down are my pegs, and I have two different types of pegs. Let's see if I can get them out real quick. All right, so these, okay, I have 6-inch punch stops. These are, I am convinced these are some of the best on the market. I know you can find other companies sell the same exact punch stop. So like I said, I'll leave links down in the description. And then I have a Peg-It, which is a little stick, looks like this. And this is for when I've already tied my knot and I'm too lazy to cut it off and put one of these on. I put this on. This is what I use for my Mojo rigs. So these are the two that I use. I use them a lot. I use them a lot more than probably I should. Almost every time I tie on a Texas rig, I peg it first. And a lot of times that is not good for a hook set, because what happens is it'll blow the fish's mouth open. But I usually only use like a 3/8 is the biggest I use. So it's usually not a big deal. But if you always peg your weight up against your hook, it doesn't allow that weight to get out of the way for a hook set. And so it can really, in certain situations, it can be detrimental to a hook set, but it's not. All right, so the next one, now this one is my Carolina rig weight that I always talk about. I've gotten comments since I made my last Carolina rig video. Everybody's like, I found your cylinder weight. No, nobody found my cylinder weight. You still haven't found it. Nobody makes these anymore. This is what I'm talking about, okay? So it is a bullet weight. You can see the bullet nose. Long cylinder, piece of tungsten, flat on the backside, or concave on the backside. That is my Carolina rig. I'm down to 6. They were called the, crud. I can't remember. Anyway, it was the Finesse Carolina rig weight from True Tungsten. And True Tungsten did an absolutely horrible job of marketing it. Nobody knew they existed. And they were the best Carolina rig weights on there. And the reason I say this is because I fished a lot of night tournaments back then, and they never got hung up in the rocks. They never got hung up in the wood. I never had to worry about losing them. So that's the reason why. The only time I'd ever lose them is I get the hook hung up in the rocks of the wood, and then I'd have to break it, and then everything would break off when I tried to get it out. Next are my drop shot weights in the same little compartment. So I usually just keep the cylinder ones just because they pack easier. Excuse me. This pollen is getting to me big time. But they pack easier is the reason they're in here. I use the round ones. I use the little, I love the teardrop ones, but I like, they just fit in here better. So these are pretty cool. The reason I really like these fly boxes is because we're going into these little compartments right here. Oops, there. Little tiny compartments. Swivels, split rings. There's a bunch of stuff in those little bitty compartments that I use, just the tiny stuff. And when I can find the size of this split ring or the swivel, this is my Carolina rig, or not my Carolina, my Fluke rig swivel. Okay, so this is what I use for my flukes, and I can't remember the size of it. It's trying to autofocus. But when I find the size, I'll put it down in the description. This is what I use in front of my flukes to keep it weighted down, about 18-inch leader, then tie on your fluke. And this will be 18 inches in front of the fluke, just holding the fluke down with some fluorocarbon line. That's how I use my fluke, fish my fluke all the time. I got some little hitchhikers, which is what I put on the front of swim baits, and I also use them when I'm pre-fishing. I don't want to catch the fish. I'll Texas rig this. This will be instead of the hook, I use this. And I have never lost bait in a fish's mouth because of that. I've never left a fish swallowing my soft plastic. Then I got split rings. I always use Spro split rings. They're the best on the market. And then I can't get them out because my fingers are too fat. But a lot of you guys ask about these a bunch. These are duo clips. It's what I hook on the front of my crankbait when I'm trying to figure out what crankbaits are working the best that day. And I've got 2 tied on right now. I'm pre-fishing for the Logan Martin Bass Nation Kayak Series tournament that's in day after tomorrow. So what I'm doing is I have one tied on each of my crankbait rods, and I just change the crankbaits out until I figure out what color they want. And then once that happens, I either cut that off or I'll take the split ring off the crankbait and leave a clip on, one or the other. So the next is a weightless Florida rig. You see a little curly Q. It screws down into the swim baits. I got to take a lot of this stuff out because I packed it for Florida a couple of weeks ago and I haven't repacked it, but I might as well show you this. This is made by Gambler. These are basically just a piece of plastic that turns the head of your swim bait into a cone to come through the grass better, is all it is. So you put it on ahead of the hook, and you put the hook in a little further than you normally would, and then screw that sucker in. All right, let's get into the hooks. Woo! I didn't realize this might be a long video. So the next one I have several compartments of hooks. I have regular worm hook compartment, a straight shank hook, and then I got a few other things. We're going to go through the regular worm hooks. All right, so this is a mustad grip pin hook. I'm slowly phasing these out. Couple of reasons. This extra wide gap, let me see if I can get you guys to see it without my shirt blocking the... Okay, this extra wide gap, see how the hook point is almost straight in line with this part of the hook? This causes a few less hookups than what you would typically want. So what I typically do is I'll take the hook, see if I can show you. See, this one's straight. Sometimes if I'm having that issue, I'll just torque that hook out this way. Just a hair, not a lot. And it'll increase my hookups. And the other one is a Gamakatsu offset round bend hook. I have 3/0 and 4/0 is what I typically use. I may have one 1/0 in here, but I'm not going to go digging for it. The next one that I use, and I love these hooks, and I have them in several different models. Let's see if I can get them out. Yeah, here's one of my small ones. But, okay, so this one is the Gamakatsu G-Finesse extra wide gap hook. And you see the difference in the line tie. See how it is ahead or above the eye of the hook. It increases your hookups. This is one of my 2/0s or 1/0s that I use when I'm really, really finessey. It's a lighter hook, but the wire itself is pretty stout. So it's been a really good hook. I also have that hook in a straight shank, which is what I use most of the time from a kayak. Okay. Gamakatsu G-Finesse got a tin keeper on it to keep your bait from sliding down. This one is really good from a kayak. See, the challenges from a kayak is that you lose power on your hook set. And so if you're using a big fat flipping hook like this one, let me show it to you. See how fat that flipping hook is compared to that thin wired Gamakatsu? Okay. So using a fat flipping hook, it's harder to penetrate the top of a bass's mouth with this hook than it is with this one. So you're losing power on your hook set with a kayak because it's a light boat and you set the hook and the boat goes towards the fish. You will lose a lot of fish on a flipping hook. I have a way of getting around that, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So I go to these. These are really, really stiff wire, really good flipping hooks. I wouldn't recommend them for super heavy cover because you really got to have a heavy action rod, and a heavy action rod with 65-pound braid will bend this hook out. But 20-pound test fluorocarbon on a medium heavy or even a heavy action will not bend this hook out on the hook set. So really, really love that one. This other one is it's an owner flipping hook, and I use this with a 7'11" extra heavy hook rod, and it's only for flipping. It's not for long distance. It's 10 feet in front of me, and I'm flipping heavy cover, and I don't lose a lot of hook set power because I'm so close to the fish. I got such a long rod. I got such a heavy rod, and usually I have my power pole staked down in the back behind me, and it keeps the boat from moving towards the fish. Okay, the next compartment's full of a bunch of stuff. First of all, my Tokyo rig. Okay, oops. Okay. So I keep a Tokyo rig in there. Love these things, especially when the water's, the bottom of the lake is mushy and I'm pitching around docks and stuff. I'll have one of these tied on today because I'm going to go to check some docks. All of my Ned rig stuff, I have 2 here. I know I have some more in that hole, but I have several different types and kinds of Ned rigs and weights. I got some ball head swim bait head. These are swim bait heads for tiny paddle tail swim baits. And I got 3 wacky rig hooks, which I never wacky rig. I do, but not very often. So that's that. I have a few treble hooks, 2 sizes, number 4s and number 6s for if I ever have to replace hooks on a crankbait. I'm not going to get those out. They're all tangled in there. But then the next compartment is my drop shot stuff. And I have 2 different types of drop shot hooks in there. And they're so small I can't get them off the table. So again, another G Finesse from Gamakatsu. I love these hooks. I wish more stores carried them because it's hard to find them. But you can get them on Tackle Warehouse. This is my weedless drop shot hook. You rig it just like a normal drop shot, and then you just do a little Texas rig straight across, and your little worm is weedless. And then your standard drop shot hook. I can't remember what brand this is because I have so many of them. I've had them for so many years, but it's probably an Owner or a Mustad. It's probably a Mustad, but love it. All right, and that's your standard little nose hook drop shot. Then the next one is my Nico stuff, which I've got some pretty cool little deals that I've got in this little compartment, and this is my last compartment. Is, of course, your regular Nico hook. I have not done a Nico video yet, so I might have an ancient one. I'll have to check and see. I've done so many videos I forget. Nico hook, the regular nail weight. I've got tungsten and I've got lead. This is a tungsten one. A Nico head. This is if I don't mind, if I want the head to bounce on rocks and make noise, I use this one. Or this one. This is a new one from Z-Man. This is a pretty cool little deal. It's got the same as a Ned head. Let me get a little closer. And then it's got a little keeper, and it's just a stick sticks in there, and it takes a place of this one right here. It stays in better, and it gives you that flat head so it lands straight up and down. And then they also make this cool little thing. It's a tail blade for your Senkos. Sits in the back of your Senkos or into the back of your worms. So I got a couple of those. Those are pretty dang cool. So that's how much stuff you can fit in this little bitty box right here. So this box, you can find it on Amazon. I'll try to find the link. It's called the Large Fly Box, made in China. Good for about a year of beating it around, and then you got to replace it. But it's been good so far. So, well, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed Tackle Tuesday. Like I said, I'll leave all the links down in the description. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. But like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out on the water. Go out and catch some fish. And have a great day. We'll see you.